We are live. It is day 9, week 3 of the Trump criminal trial. Yes, this is my dog, Taquito. We are pro-dog here on Legal AF. It's not a Christie Gnome network, so we want to give you that. I actually have some people in my yard right now while doing this analysis, so Taquito would like to be here right now. Karen, a lot has taken. You don't get this analysis on CNN. You don't get it. You don't get it anywhere else. We've got a lot to discuss today. A lot of bombshells, a lot of developments. We keep a scorecard each and every day of all of the developments that take place. Let's go through today. Trump trial, day 9. Trump shows up and he complains that he has to go into an ice box, referring to the courtroom and how cold he claims it is. Eric Trump and Ken Paxton were Donald Trump's guests of honor. Ken Paxton under indictment, and he was impeached in Texas. You have Donald Trump being told by Justice Merchan that he could attend his son Barron's graduation on May 17th. Justice Merchan never said Trump couldn't attend. Justice Merchan simply said that he was going to wait to see how trial was progressing. Then Trump was held in criminal contempt on 9 separate violations. He was fined $9,000 and warned that he would be thrown in jail if his conduct continued. It should be noted that on Thursday, there will be another contempt hearing based on Donald Trump's continuing violations that was set last week. You had Gary Farrow, the banker, concluding his testimony. You had Dr. Robert Browning, a C-SPAN archivist, and Philip Thompson, who worked for a deposition court reporting service, testify for a very short period of time to authenticate records. We'll talk about that in a bit. And Karen Friedman Agnifilo mentioned this yesterday before anyone else did, how Donald Trump is the reason for his own whining about how long this trial is taking. It is because Donald Trump is making the government, the people, authenticate things that would normally just always come in. So Trump is probably extending his own trial by 3 or 4 weeks by not authenticating records so he could whine about it. Then you had Donald Trump falling asleep. Again, multiple reporters talked about Trump falling asleep during the proceeding, but I think he must have woken back up when Keith Davidson, who's Karen McDougal and Stormy Daniels' lawyer, testified. Bombshell after bombshell, a lot of it confirmed with contemporaneous text messages as well, each one seemingly more devastating than the next. And we've learned that Donald Trump is pissed at his lawyer, Todd Blanche, through some New York Times reporting that Trump believes his lawyer is not being aggressive enough. As we go through some of the developments from today, here was the big picture, Karen, of Donald Trump walking out of court that the pool camera took, with his face kind of looking exasperated, like he had been through a lot. Here's Donald Trump walking into the court proceedings, saying that he's going to have to go into an ice box. Let's play this clip right here.
So I appreciate you being here. Thank you very much. And I'm going to go into the ice box now and sit for about 8 hours or 9 hours. I'd much rather be in Georgia. I'd much rather be in Florida. I'd much rather be in states that are in play, states that, I'd like to be able to campaign.
Trump continues then to bring up Charlottesville. Karen, you wanted to mention something?
I just want to mention something. He says, I'm going to go in for 8 or 9 hours. Court goes from 9:30 to 4:30. That is time-stamped 9:25, that video. That's 7 hours. Plus there's a 1 hour and 15-minute lunch break. And there's been a couple of breaks. So at most, it's 6 hours. I'm only just saying it because he lies. He lies and exaggerates constantly, and that's just one more example.
Here, Donald Trump, when he was walking into court, he continues to bring up Charlottesville, where he said there are fine people on both sides, referring to Nazis. Here's Donald Trump. He brings up Charlottesville randomly and says, Charlottesville was like peanuts. Let's play this clip.
Like it. He said he ran because of Charlottesville. Well, if the people that know Charlottesville, when you extend the statement, it's a big hoax what they say was said, and they understand that. And Charlottesville is peanuts compared to what you're looking at now.
And then he made some, there Those pictures are pretty, those are some pretty rough pictures of him right there. And here he randomly brings up Jack Smith and says Jack Smith has his hands in a cookie jar. And he says that he hasn't read anything. Anyway, we'll show you that clip in a little bit. But let me show you, Karen, because Donald Trump didn't authenticate these videos from the C-SPAN archivist, they had to come in today. They had to fly in the archivist. So here is Donald Trump, though. And the jury got to see this video clip saying that all of these women made up lies about me. And so the jury got to see this today through the archivist. Let's play this clip.
As you have seen, right now I am being viciously attacked with lies and smears. It's a phony deal. I have no idea who these women are. Have no idea. I have no idea. And I think you all know I have no idea because you understand me for a lot of years. Okay? When you looked at that horrible woman last night, you said, I don't think so. I don't think so. Whoever she is, wherever she comes from, the stories are total fiction. They're 100% made up. They never happened. They never would happen. I don't think that happened with very many people, but they certainly aren't going to happen with me.
Powerful moment when the jury got to see that. And finally, Karen, we know that the defense is going to go after Michael Cohen a lot. So the jury got to see this today as well, where Donald Trump praised Michael Cohen in real time once Trump was elected. Play this clip.
And by the way, we just found out I was coming down. Michael Cohen. Michael Cohen is a very talented lawyer. He's a good lawyer in my firm.
So Karen, break it all down for us, and especially the Keith Davidson testimony, which I thought was wow.
Yeah, it was a big, big day today. But I want to start with the fact that he complains all the time about how cold it is inside that courtroom. Everybody knows that around now, it's April 30th, all the buildings in New York City are typically freezing cold. Why? Because the heat is, they turn the heat off for the winter because winter's over and it's not quite warm enough yet. And so a lot of people are cold, like me, sitting in an office with a blanket because it's freezing. And so many of us have to endure it. Certainly everyone who works in the courts have to endure it. But for some reason, he just likes to whine about it rather than dressing appropriately. But what happened today, there's a lot of really big news today. First of all, he was found to be held in contempt, 9 different violations, 9 out of the 10. And this was a proof beyond a reasonable doubt contempt standard. Although it's a criminal contempt, it's civil in nature, which makes no sense, but it's this weird judiciary law contempt that essentially allows for a $1,000 fine per violation or up to 30 days in jail. And the judge issued a written decision that was actually, I think, quite stunning because he literally said $1,000 for someone wealthy is not enough to prevent them from continuing to do the behavior. And he put Trump on notice that if Trump continues, he will be left with no choice but to impose a jail sentence. And so I thought that was really interesting and smart the way he said it. It's almost like he doesn't want to have to do it, but if he doesn't stop, then that's what will have to be done. He also only found him in contempt for 9 out of the 10. And so again, that's why he didn't rule on the spot. He said he took each one individually and really analyzed each one beyond a reasonable doubt to get to what he got to, where he found that Trump willfully violated his court order. He also leveled a caveat to Stormy Daniels and to Michael Cohen, saying if they continue to that this is designed to protect witnesses and jurors who might be afraid to come testify. But if witnesses continue to talk about Donald Trump openly, then all bets are off. He's allowed to respond. So he kind of clarified things and admonished Trump and punished Trump. So it was a very effective order in that regard, because it was very much, this is the deal. This is what you have to do. reposting is making a statement. It's an active, it's an active thing that you have to do. And the Jesse Waters tape or quote, sorry, that you put in quotes, that was something that you actually added words to and put quotation marks around it. So that was wholly made by you when he pretended to quote the Fox News reporter Jesse Waters. So that was interesting that the judge couldn't have been clear about what would be a violation and what will not be a violation. And so he has now been found in contempt by beyond a reasonable doubt. I think that's kind of stunning. It's not quite a criminal conviction, but boy, does it start to sound like it. It's criminal contempt, and he has been held in contempt. Now, Thursday, there's another hearing where the prosecution is going to once again try to hold a hearing about whether the 4 additional statements that were not part of the original contempt hearing, because they were made afterwards, whether he will be in violation of those as well. I think Todd Blanche is going to come much more prepared this time because the last one did not go well at all. The last one, the judge actually told Todd Blanche, Trump's lawyers, that you're losing credibility and you're not prepared. Like what is when he said things like, oh, this was in response to a particular post. And the judge would say, oh, what post was this in response to? And he couldn't really provide anything other than general statements. So I think you'll expect Todd Blanche to come much more prepared Thursday. He's a good lawyer. So I think I just wasn't, just didn't realize what this hearing, the order to show cause hearing would be or what it would be like. And in fairness, I've never had one of these hearings. It doesn't happen very often. I was talking to a judge friend of mine who is former chief the chief judge of the courts of the New York Supreme Court. His name is Mike Obis. He's a great guy. He retired. He said in his 30 years as judge, he never once held anyone in contempt. He never once had a contempt hearing. Like this is not like this seems almost like a normal thing because Donald Trump tries to normalize these unusual behaviors. I mean, yes, you do see it on TV, order in the court, with the gavel and you're in contempt, but that's made for TV drama. It doesn't happen in real life. Like I said, I've never seen it. That's not true. I've seen it one time, but it wasn't me. It was one person that I was supervising and it was a very unusual circumstance. So this is not a common thing at all. So we can't normalize it and shouldn't normalize it. It's a really big deal that he was held in contempt in a criminal case. So that's number one that happened today. So then number two that happened today is we continued on with witnesses that Trump's lawyers didn't even bother cross-examining. Why? Because there's no reason to cross-examine them. They don't offer much, right? The guy who controls C-SPAN's archives, who you needed to put on to establish the authenticity of those recordings that the prosecutors want into evidence. He doesn't know Donald Trump. He didn't film or record this by himself, this recording. He just pulled it from the C-SPAN pool camera archives so that it could be put into evidence as an authenticated business record. And you have to do that because otherwise you can't just throw things into evidence, right? You have to authenticate them. And normally what happens in things that don't have witnesses who you want to ask questions of, normally what you would do is you would stipulate to its authenticity, right? Business records. Why call the custodian of the business records, which you're going to see happening for the rest of the week for bank records, et cetera. And we saw some of that, right? Or phone records or text records. I mean, just records, people who aren't substantive witnesses just to authenticate documents. Why do you have to call them? Well, the prosecution has to call them. The prosecution doesn't mind calling them. It doesn't hurt or harm them in any way. But it's just part of what you do. But most of the time, the parties stipulate to the fact that if this person were called to testify, he would say that this is a true and authentic copy of a video that he pulled from C-SPAN's archives dated whatever, XYZ date. And you put it into evidence and you play it whenever makes sense in the course of your trial. But because Donald Trump is refusing to stipulate to anything, the prosecution has to put this witness on. Now, this actually, and I bring it up for three reasons. Number one, because Donald Trump's whining that he should be out on the campaign trail versus sitting in this icebox in criminal trial that he's required to be at every day. He could shorten it by, I don't know, a week by the time we're done with all these business record type witnesses, because this is a paper case. So he could shorten this trial. He could be back out on the campaign trail sooner, but he clearly isn't that interested. Number two, it actually helps the prosecution that they won't stipulate. Why? Because now the jury will hear the tape more than once, right? If this is a tape that you want to play, you play it when the witness is testifying, and then you can play it later too. You can play it whenever you want during your trial. You can play it for other witnesses. You can play it during your summation. It's in evidence. But you got this one freebie of the authentication, right? If you were a prosecutor who didn't do that, if it was stipulated to, then you wouldn't get to do it at that point. You'd wait until later, maybe in your summation or maybe with another witness. But if you've got something helpful and you're a prosecutor, you want that in more than once. You want that in over and over again. I would want that tape of him calling Michael Cohen a good lawyer, right? Over and over and over again. The more the jury hears that from the defendant's own words, the better. So he's helping the prosecution. He's only hurting himself by not stipulating. And I was trying to wonder why he's not doing it. And I don't know, maybe he thinks he's punishing the prosecution for because they won't give over the witness list. I have no idea why he's not doing it. Like I said, I think it only hurts him in several ways, but that's just me. I'm not the defense attorney in the case, so it's not my decision. Then we get to the first real substantive witness of the day, Keith Davidson. Keith Davidson was a pretty powerful witness, I think, because he was the lawyer who negotiated the deals with Karen McDougal and Stormy Daniels on their behalf with with AMI. And essentially, it's corroborative. What Keith Davidson does is he corroborates all the things that Pecker was saying, all the things that Stormy Daniels will say, all the things that Michael Cohen will say. He's just another witness who corroborates how the catch and kill scheme worked. And he corroborates the fact that this was all during the time of the election and that this was election related. Now, remember, Ben, the Donald Trump's affair with Karen McDougal and Stormy Daniels happened 10 years before this was negotiated. These catch and kill payoffs were negotiated. And what Mr. Davidson, who by all accounts of people in the courtroom came across as very credible, very lawyerly, what he was saying was there was no market for that. At the time, he was used to, he's a lawyer who represents media, celebrity type people. He said, typically you just negotiate an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement. But this catch and kill thing was something he had not done either ever or much of. And he was doing it because there was a market for it after the Access Hollywood tape came out after the election. And that's when things really heated up. And I'm sorry, not after the election, right before the election, I should say. And that's when things really heated up. And so he really corroborates that this is all election related and that it was his understanding through text messages or many text messages that came into evidence through him that established that this was with AMI, but then AMI wanted nothing to do with Stormy Daniels, and that this was on behalf of Donald Trump. He knew it was on behalf of Donald Trump, and that he also corroborated the timing of Michael Cohen and that Michael Cohen was acting on behalf of Donald Trump. He also talked about how Michael Cohen, things were urgent with him, things were really important, stuff like that. So I thought it was pretty powerful testimony today. Pretty powerful testimony today. How about you, Ben?
Look, I thought it was powerful testimony and it was corroborated by the text messages and just taking a text message, seeing what was happening in real time, and then layering in, which is why I thought it was so brilliant to bring in the C-SPAN archivist, although you probably didn't have to bring in the archivist if Trump would have just stipulated to the video, but showing that video before Keith Davidson, because at that time, Donald Trump was saying, I know nothing about these women. Let's just, in light of that video, let me show you this. First, let me show you that video again, that C-SPAN video where Trump says, I don't know these women. I've had nothing to do. I would never lie to you. And this was, Karen, this is focal, in connection with his election, in connection with 2016, how important this was for him. So let's play that. Then I want to just show you some of these text messages. Let's take a look at it.
As you have seen, right now, I am being viciously attacked with lies and smears. It's a phony deal. I have no idea who these women are. I have no idea. I have no idea. And I think you all know I have no idea because you understand me for a lot of years. Okay? When you looked at that horrible woman last night, you said, I don't think so. I don't think so. Whoever she is, wherever she comes from, the stories are total fiction. They're 100% made up. They never happened. They never would happen. I don't think that happened with very many people, but they certainly aren't going to happen with me.
And at the same time, Trump was saying that and making statements like that, you had a June 7th, 2016 text from the witness, Keith Davidson, to Dylan Howard at the National Enquirer, quote, I have a blockbuster Trump story, to which Dylan Howard replied, talk first thing. I will get you more than anyone for it. You know why. And then they talk about the payments regarding this first for the Karen McDougal story. And then they started talking about the payments and why Trump wasn't paying for the Stormy Daniels story as after Keith Davidson inked the deal for his other client, Stormy Daniels. And then they were saying things like Donald Trump was so frugal that even a Trump impersonator would perhaps have more cash than Donald Trump to spend. And they were kind of mocking Donald Trump for doing the hush money deal and then trying to drag this out past the election. So ultimately, Trump would not have to pay. And so you had all of that going on behind the scenes as Donald Trump was saying that. So I thought it was powerful. And to see those text messages also, and also just seeing the people kind of mock Donald Trump behind his back, I thought was very powerful. One point, the jury has been excused, of course. Justice Merchan has told the lawyers to expect to begin oral argument on the next batch of alleged gag order violations on Thursday at 9:30 a.m. sharp. Trump, his son Eric, and Ken Paxton and others, all exited the courtroom. And I'll say this in a little bit, Karen, in the next few minutes, I'm going to go and start my live with Michael Cohen. There's a lot that Michael Cohen can't talk about anymore, although I just want to get a sense of how he's feeling. But I definitely respect that Cohen has taken the position. I'm not going to be, talking about the case or Trump anymore, which is why also you and I do this analysis leading up to that show. So I don't want to, go into areas with Cohen about the trial, but I'll just make this observation. Everything that we know that Cohen said thus far has been corroborated, though, by these witnesses, by Keith Davidson, originally by David Pecker, by the documentary evidence as well. So anyway, that's why I thought Davidson was powerful, not just how he presented, but also the text messages. I want to remind everybody as well that tomorrow the court is dark. There's no trial tomorrow, so no morning session with me and Karen or afternoon session. But then again, on Thursday, we have that gag order hearing. So, Karen, I want to hear kind of your final words about today, how important it was, and then what you expect to see happen at the gag order hearing. And then I want to remind everybody, as soon as this ends, we'll go to the room where I'll be hosting Political Beatdown with Michael Cohen. Karen, take it away.
Yeah, I want to go back to the text messages that were put up on the screen. If we could put them back up again, because I think there's some really powerful information in those texts. So here where it says, I have a blockbuster Trump story, calling it a teaser. I'll get you more. So the reason that's significant is there is no way that they're going to be able to argue again that this is about Michael Cohen. It's so clear this is about Trump, and these text messages show that. Please go to the next text message. It also says not my money. All asks. F it. And, again, they're trying to get more money at this exact time. And keep going. And then this is the text message that I think you're going to hear a lot about in summation when Stormy Daniels' lawyer, Keith Davidson, asks Dylan Howard from AMI, he's Pecker's #2, on election night, when Trump clearly was seeming like he would win, said, "What have we done?" And Howard replied, "Oh my God." Now, if that isn't the most chilling exchange of what they all knew was happening, this isn't going to rely just on Michael Cohen's credibility and his testimony. Everybody knew that this was about Donald Trump and the election. It's from all of their words, all of their statements, what they say today on the stand under oath, what their contemporaneous text messages, emails, etc. show, all of the conflicting evidence and lies that they're showing that Donald Trump said, and the dates, right, when this happened. None of this was happening 10 years earlier. If this was to protect Melania, he could have paid these women off a decade earlier, right? This all happened 10 years before. This was only coming up around the election, and he only parted with this amount of money around the election because he wanted to win, and he didn't want to have to have this ever come out. It would have been embarrassing at the time, and could cost him the election. And so he hid it, and he obfuscated where this money came from. So I think the evidence is starting to really pile up brick by brick. And I think the case is coming in really strongly, actually. There's much more evidence than I ever appreciated.
Well, Karen, we appreciate all of your updates. I'm excited to reconvene with you again Thursday morning, where you and I will talk about the contempt hearing that will be taking place there. Let me ask you this question, and I'll let you go a little bit more than just a yes or no, because I hate when people say yes or no, especially when you're colleagues. Do you think that Merchan's going to incarcerate Donald Trump, put him in prison, or put him in jail, rather, after this would be the second violation? What do you think Merchan does?
He's not, because I'll tell you why. Merchan will have looked at, he will have considered his decision, his written decision, where he put Trump on notice that he could put him in jail. That post dates these other text messages, right? So he's going to just, if he finds them beyond a reasonable doubt that these were in violation of the gag order, he'll hold him in contempt, fine him again. And I think if he does it now, after that he has issued this warning that he could put him in jail if he leaves him no choice, I think that's when he would do it. So I don't think there's no reason to put him in jail now. If it looks like Trump has started to modulate his behavior. He has stopped doing the very thing that that Judge Merchan told him to do: stop threatening the witnesses, stop going after everybody, stop commenting on the jurors. And he seems to have done it. And that's really all Judge Merchan cares about. He's not anti-Trump the way Trump says. He wants a fair trial for any defendant. It doesn't matter who you are. He wants a verdict in the end, whatever the verdict is. And certainly he's not going to want to cause a mistrial, which if he puts Donald Trump in jail, that's going to be the #1 news story that pops up on everybody's phones. And, God forbid the jury sees it inadvertently. Judge Merchan doesn't want to be the person to cause that. And so he is going to really do everything in his power to not have that happen. So I do think that that he won't do it on Thursday. That's my prediction. One other thing I just wanted to mention was 2 things, actually. I don't think the prosecution is going to be calling the doorman or Karen McDougal as witnesses, because they don't need them, right? They're really just provide the background. They don't need them. However, that video that they showed where Donald Trump denies ever knowing either of them that you just played, Ben, that would make me want to put her on the stand, because that just shows he's a liar. Yeah. So, and I'd want to show the jury that he is a liar. So it's just interesting to me, because he can't deny that. He cannot deny that he had a year-long affair with her. I don't think, but who knows? So, and the third thing I just wanted to say was, don't forget to join us Wednesday, me and Popok, for Legal AF, where we will dive deep into all of this as well.
Karen Friedman, Agnifilo, we appreciate your analysis as always. We'll see each other on Thursday morning, and then after court on Thursday. Of course, everybody keep checking back for all the breaking news updates. And now make sure you don't even have to do anything right now. You'll be automatically transferred to Political Beatdown, which I'll be starting with none other than Michael Cohen. And if for whatever reason you don't get automatically moved there, just on the live feed of YouTube, click Political Beatdown, but it should move you there automatically very shortly. Thank you for watching, and shout out to the Midas Mighty.
Enough! Send it to the big house, not the White House. Get the new exclusive tees, mugs, and stickers right now at store.midastouch.com. That's store.midastouch.com.